Hello and welcome back to the Sit Back and Chat podcast. Today I have a guest. I wonder who it is. Reveal yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Neela. I run a podcast called The Midnight Bookworm, all about books and reviews and stuff. But I also run a blog for that and another blog that I am starting up right now called Ocean's Musings. It's like a lifestyle blog, but outside of that, I would like to think that I'm Brooklyn's college bestie.
I would have to agree with that statement.
That's my most important role out of all of the ones.
Welcome, Neela, to the podcast. I've never had a guest before, and I've actually been very against it, so this is quite the honor.
I am so honored. Oh my gosh. I giggled and I kicked my feet when I got the invite.
I'm glad that is the response that I would have wanted. So this is actually not our first podcast episode together. If you know the lore, you know the lore.
Right. There's NDAs though, so we can't talk about it.
Yeah, that's as much as we can say. But aside from that, I thought that we would tell how we met because you seem to know this story so much better than I do. Like, I always think it was a different timeline or a different circumstance than it actually was.
Wait, okay, yeah. So we have a mutual friend, and she and I met like the first week of freshman year. We lived in the same dorm. And you know, freshman year, you have to visit the famous frat parties. You need to see what's up.
Of course.
Spoiler alert, nothing is up.
The
Everything
floor
is
sticky.
down. We were going to one of these parties in the first couple weeks, and she was like, I invited this girl from my chem class, which, if you're wondering, Brooklyn is no longer in any sort of chem classes. And I remember meeting Brooklyn. She was wearing like a Juicy Couture tracksuit, which to this day I thought was so iconic to wear to a frat because everyone wears the same crop top jeans and frat shoes. But, you know, Brooklyn had to stand out, obvi. I saw her and I was like, wow, she's so cool. And then we like didn't really talk after that night. And that's like where my recollection goes because I don't really know how we became actual friends.
I'm not quite sure either because my friendship extension, I sent you a text like 2 weeks later saying, hey girl, I would love to get lunch at the dining hall or something. You're like, I'm actually like so busy.
Wait.
But like, thank you for thinking of me.
Okay, so like I don't remember this text, but in my defense, it was business fraternity rush, which was like taking over my life, which I think is exactly when she texted me. And I was also, you know, just like having a crisis of like moving to college, and I was just like not living my life. So I don't know how we came back from that, but I'm glad that we did.
There was a comeback that is unknown. The origin stories of that will never be uncovered.
The universe only knows.
It's going to be a docuseries.
Right, it'll be an investigation.
Like Snapchat memories and all.
Like Cold Case.
Yeah. Anyways, today we're talking all things college life, academics, friendships, dating, situationships, partying, you name it. It's going to be covered. You know, it's just our tales from how we've been navigating college and its many, many components from the best source you can get any of this information from.
True. Sorry. I'm an introvert at heart, and I was supposed to go to a bar crawl tonight, and I'm wimping out, so I'm trying to sell my shirt right now, because that's such a college thing. Like, isn't that insane? Like, I bought a bar crawl shirt, and now I'm trying to sell it.
Is it cute?
No.
Oh. Why'd you buy it?
Because everyone going bought it. There's like 60 people that bought this shirt.
Wow.
And now I'm trying to sell it.
Herd mentality. Anyways, so where should we start? Academics?
I think we should transition from bar crawl to academics. Like, I feel like
yes,
that makes sense.
This is the thing that they tell you should be on the forefront of your mind when you come to college. Don't think about anything else. Keep your academics in check. However, there does come a point in time where you realize no matter how many times I go out, no matter how many hours of sleep I lack, somehow you find a way to keep your academics pretty much in check regardless.
Yeah.
Don't let them lie. You don't need to be in the library like 10 hours a day.
Well, I feel like we're both not engineering majors.
That's true.
At least from a business and comm perspective. I can promise you that, well, I don't know what your GPA is. I think you have a good GPA.
She's up there.
Yeah, you give good GPA. I have a good GPA.
Per.
And here we are.
Surviving.
on a Wednesday night recording a podcast.
Exactly. How do you juggle your coursework? Like, let me set the tone and the scene. It's Monday of a very busy week. You have a test tomorrow. You have a test Thursday. And you have an essay due Friday night. You also want to continue to, like, do your everyday things, like go to the gym, be able to read your books. But you also have a friend's birthday party night out Wednesday, the day before your hardest exam.
Dang.
And on Monday, you have to stay at work 2 hours later than usual. What do you do?
Well, my work would never do that. But
okay,
anyways.
But it did, so go on.
I'm a Google Calendar queen. I'm very color-coded, so all of the things that Brooklyn just said would be in the GCal, including the birthday party. And I feel like sometimes you have to put you first. So, for instance, attend the party, but maybe you dip out at midnight and you don't go too crazy. You maybe do a shorter gym sesh to make sure you can fit in a study sesh. Honestly, as a book podcaster, I shouldn't be saying this, but the book's gotta come last when it comes to balancing having a couple tests and an essay. The personal reading can be done on the weekend. I am able to crank out an essay in like 2 hours. So honestly, the moment that I would be done with it, my exam on Thursday, the hardest exam, I'd probably go home and crank out that essay so that I could just chill on Friday.
I honestly love that for you. I admire that for you. I would do the complete opposite. Either the test would just not get studied for, or they would 2 hours before the time.
Yeah.
The essay definitely isn't getting touched until 3 hours before it's due.
Okay. Got it.
I feel like I have this thing where I avoid and like literally procrastinate to the point where I'm doing stuff at the last second.
Yeah.
But then I had so much time and so much opportunity to do right.
Yeah.
But I just did everything completely wrong. It still gets done, but like it does shave off at least 2 years of my life every time I do this, and I have done this numerous times. So
like you went from a life expectancy of maybe like 85 to like 75?
We're definitely in the 60s now.
Oh. Okay.
However, I'm trying to become reformed.
Right. Yeah.
I want to see 60, and right now it's getting kind of close to 59.
That's rough. I am like so type A and anxious, which is why I can't do what Brooklyn does. Trust that when I'm at the birthday party, when I'm doing the gym session, I would be constantly stressing for said exams and essay.
I think it also depends on the class and the semester, because this semester
True.
at least, I don't have any classes that I like really need to study for because all of my tests have been open note.
That's, oh my God.
So as long as I go to class and lock in
Yeah.
and type down whatever is being said, I'm fine.
Wait, yeah.
But like last spring, girl, I had like 200 flashcards handwritten.
I do remember that.
I was not playing around because I took that first test that I barely studied for, and my grade showed. I got like a C, and I'm like, oh, okay. And after that, I was cranking out flashcards like no other, and I started getting grades that I could be proud of. I mean, all in all, everything worked out. I kept my GPA. It definitely takes some time to learn like what you can do for what class and like what is not going to fly at all. So I pick and choose.
Yeah, I can't do flashcards for some reason. They don't work for me. But I'm a big handwriter, so I will take just an entire 5 notebook pages just to write down every single concept in a class. That's why I can't do flashcards, because I feel like I would be buying thousands upon thousands of flashcards. And also, I don't know, some of the concepts I do have like a big concept and then a mini concept and then a minier concept where if I put it in a flashcard, I would not understand how it works.
I would end up having so many flashcards because of like those mini concepts.
Ugh.
I would also like do like fill in the blank. I'm kind of crazy. Like it would be
Yeah.
like fill in the blank, and I would like make myself recite these concepts word for word. And like no information that I definitely didn't need to know for the test, but it would just like help it lock into my brain a little bit better.
What are one of your horror stories with this then?
The first thing that comes to mind is last semester there was a 6-page paper that we knew about like from the first day of class. And the professor is like, this is due 2 months into the class. You have ample time to figure this out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so right. I have ample time. And, you know, in the beginning of a semester, you're a reformed student. So I'm like, I'm going to start doing this paper a month and a half before it's due. Like,
right.
actually, let me go write the outline right now.
Wow.
That didn't happen, but I was thinking it. So, like, the effort was there.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I did start writing the paper like 4 hours before it was due.
Of course.
And this was like our only paper, so there were no late submissions, no ifs, ands, or buts. Unless you are in a coma, if you don't turn this in, it is simply a 0. I literally am turning this in. It is 11:58, like 30 seconds into 11:58, and I like just barely turned it in.
That's crazy.
And it was the most anxiety-inducing time of my life. I don't even think I fully did a conclusion. Like, I did like 2 sentences, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to turn this in. And I submitted
But you
it.
got it in. How did you do on it?
I got an A.
Guys, so story basically is, as long as you give yourself time day of, you're good.
As long as you know what your TA is looking for. I mean, she was one of the girls. She was a baddie.
Right.
And, like, we had to write about, like, a movie, TV show, music video. So, obviously, I did Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, it was an A from the get-go, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's also the difference is none of my classes have TAs where it's, you know, someone your age that you can kind of ask questions beforehand. It's all just professors. And so I feel like there's definitely less of a comfort level there because it's very test-based and it's very professor-heavy. So all of my tests are worth 20% of my grade minimum, which is why I can't procrastinate on them because we don't get essays. This is my first semester ever having to write an essay for a finance class, so I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum with this.
I mean, honestly, slay.
Right. And like with that, my story is that I had 2 finals back to back, and one of the classes I was on the verge of getting a B+. I was like 90%, and the other one I had 100% in. Anyways, and I literally studied for like 5 days for that first exam. Took it, ended up keeping my A-. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
And for the other class, we literally were allowed like a front and back cheat sheet. I had a study group to make this cheat sheet with, and I ended up getting a 70% on this final, where everyone else in my group got 100% because I had been so locked in for the other test that I didn't even know how to use my cheat sheet. That's how you know you're in the trenches. And everyone walked out of that test saying, oh my gosh, it was so easy. And I was just like nodding along, got that grade back, and I just closed my Canvas page and went on summer break because sometimes you have to protect your peace.
All you can do in that moment is log out.
Well, and I got an A. It just dropped down, but it dropped down from 100% to like 95 because of how bad I did.
Did they curve it a little bit?
No, because everyone did so good.
Dang.
I was the minimum, I think.
Oh my gosh, speaking of curves, I literally had like an 89.8 in a class, freshman year Spanish, which I was fighting for my life in the entire time.
Of course.
Because what do you mean we're speaking in Spanish the entire time? Like, I just didn't know what was happening.
Yo no sé.
Yeah, but that was like my only response ever. And my TA didn't round it.
Oh my God.
And
that's
we had
evil.
such a good relationship. Like, we would talk all the time. Granted, I couldn't speak in Spanish that well, but like, I was the social, emotional, like, regulation of that class. I was the memester. If I wasn't there, then it wasn't a good time.
Yeah.
I just feel like he should have given me that extra 0.1. But
I agree.
okay.
I had a similar situation where this is how I broke my 4.0. Freshman year, I had a 92.4 something, and I think you needed a 92.5. And I just like, and it was one of those classes with like 200 people, so the professor does not care if you live or die. And that's how I went from a 4.0 to like a 3.95, and my little high school self was crying tears. And then I learned that it literally doesn't matter, especially in my major. As long as you have like above a 3.7, no one cares. And actually, the other day, my interviewer, he looks at me and he's like, Neela, I need you to know we only take people with 4.0 GPAs.
What?
In an interview, I was like, open mouth, about to start getting on my knees and praying. And he was like, just kidding. My GPA in college was like 3.6, so you're good. The fear that was in my heart was insane.
Sir, do not joke like that.
No. And he's
Nothing
like,
is
you
funny.
know, a VP something. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
My heart did just stop.
No, yeah. I was about to start crying and like talking about, I don't know, some family tragedy that, you know, would have happened to give me that 3.96. End of story. It does not matter what your GPA is as long as it's good.
I agree. I had that same experience freshman year with that Spanish class, and then I got over it. Funny enough, the professor that said all semester, I don't round grades, rounded my grade to an A.
Purr.
That's why the Spanish TA story hit so close to home, because why couldn't you have just looked out for me?
No, literally. Speaking of people not being friendly, was that a good transition?
Yes.
Okay. Next topic is going to be friends. I know Brooklyn is too, but I am such a proponent of categorizing friends. It took me up into, honestly, this semester to understand that there are different types of friends and that it's okay to have party friends. It's okay to have friends that aren't going to be your best friends. It's okay to have people that you grab, you know, a meal or two with over the semester, but you don't have enough to talk about, so you don't see each other too often. You can cause yourself a lot of unneeded mental stress, freaking out about if someone likes you, if you're close enough, if they think about you, when, like, it literally doesn't matter. And as long as you know where you stand with the person and they know where they stand with you, it's okay to have different kinds of friends.
Categorizing friends is a big issue, like freshman year, especially
So
first
true.
semester when you first come, because you think everyone is like your bestie, like you guys are so locked in, but then the people that you meet like first week of classes, you will probably not see like even after the first month.
Wait, I feel like I don't make friends in my classes. Is that
No,
just
but like
me?
just the welcome week events
True.
and like going out.
Yeah.
Like party friends. Like you go to a party and like meet a girl who's so nice and like you
You're
guys
never
follow
gonna
each
see her
other on
again.
Instagram and it's like, okay, but now I'm just gonna see you post
For-
forever.
For 3 years until you finally get the guts to unfollow her.
Yeah.
Especially the girlies you meet in the bathrooms.
It feels like you are going to be my bridesmaid. Like we
Right.
met and connected off bat, like some sort of external force brought us together. However, you guys are just having a good time and sharing that good time in this good moment. And that's all. And that's it.
I feel like if you have that fundamental understanding that sometimes you're going to have great interactions with people and maybe you see them in a semester, you know, a lot because you're in the same organization or you're in the same class, and maybe you trade Instagrams, it's okay to never talk to that person again, and it's okay to just treasure that moment and move on, and you're going to save yourself a lot of mental work.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a story. Sometimes it's just a vibe in time. And it doesn't need to become more than that.
Right.
And you have to be okay with that. Because, like, I think freshman year especially, when you would meet people out and, like, you guys didn't actually become friends, it kind of hit a little bit harder. But, like, once you're a veteran almost, like
Right.
us, you already know what's tea.
Yeah, I think you need to humble yourself sometimes and realize that people are not thinking about you as much that you are thinking about you and your relationship with them. Whatever stress or thinking about it, it's not happening in their brain. They're thinking about some situation that's happening with another person. And also, I feel like here communication is key, but also trust your gut. If you are really confused as to where you stand in a friendship with a person, that tells you everything you need to know. You don't need to make it into a beef, a fight. You need to just accept it and move on. And I feel like it's the same for cliques. You really need to be strategic with how you analyze friendship dynamics. And if you see a formed group and you have tried to enter because, you know, you're interested, or maybe you're friends with one or two members, but you aren't immediately being included, that's okay. And you can keep, you know, those singular friendships, but you shouldn't have to force yourself into a friend group. It should just be natural.
I feel like trying to get into a friend group is like rushing.
Oh gosh.
Like,
That's actually
honestly,
the best way to say it.
Especially if they've like been a friend group for a minute, because
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with friend groups and cliques, but first and foremost, I don't believe in friend groups. I feel like it never ends up well. everyone is always somehow like talking about each other. It's just so weird, especially seen from like the outside looking in. Sometimes it's better to have individual friends than like to be cooped up as one.
Yeah. If your group chat is over 5 people, trust there is a group chat without you that is
Yes.
smaller, basically. I have an experience with this. I joined this club a couple semesters ago, and I was really excited because it really aligned with one of my interests. I get to the meeting, and everyone's really nice, and the vibe is just kind of off, though. And I feel like I'm an outsider. And I realized later on into the semester that the club was kind of formed by a group of friends, and that all of the executive board is just a group of friends. I ended up leaving at the end of the semester. Everyone was super nice, but it's like you need to recognize where you are not wanted. And they did accept me because I was qualified, but I think that was more a courtesy acceptance. And it's okay if... Sorry, Brooklyn's just dying. Anyways, it's okay. You good, babe? Okay.
Yeah. I literally like choked on my own saliva. Anyways,
and it's okay to leave a situation where you feel that you're not wanted.
you have to understand where you're being tolerated versus when you're being embraced.
I like that. Tolerated.
Because that's never a good feeling.
By Taylor Swift.
I mean, I feel like if you're the type of person who like really wants to be accepted, knowing that you're just being tolerated for some people will make you want to prove yourself and prove your worthiness to be a part of the group. And that's just such...
Wait, that's literally rushing. You're right.
That's just such a dangerous cycle. And I don't know, I guess I just had to learn early on, especially with like an organization that I was a part of, sometimes you are just the individual in a group.
Yep.
And that's okay. Like, as long as you're okay with it, then everything is completely fine. Not everyone has to like you. Not everyone has to have you as their like number one go-to. As long as you feel comfortable within yourself, then you will be fine anywhere you go.
Also, you don't have to like everyone.
Exactly.
Whoa. If someone annoys you, it's okay to kind of fade them, you know? Like, if it's just kind of a vibe mismatch and maybe you used to be friends, I feel like outgrowing friendships is something that college really teaches you is okay. Hometown friends are the biggest example here, but even freshman year friends, you know, as a junior, I've definitely had friendships that I thought were going to last forever in freshman year, and now junior year, I just like their Instagram posts and wave when I see them, and I'm okay with that. Your thoughts on outgrowing friendships?
I feel like it's natural and it's not beef. Just because you don't necessarily align with someone anymore, just like you're not in the same place in your life where you guys can like truly connect, doesn't mean, oh, they hate me or, oh, I'm being like excluded. Like, it definitely depends on like how the outgrowing happens.
Yeah.
It's different if you guys are fine one day and the next they like disappear and like are kind of like avoiding you. But if it's like a natural mutual thing that happens over time, just being okay with it and allowing yourself to branch out and maybe put more time and effort into your new friendships or friendships that you didn't really have that much time for until now.
Yeah, I feel like especially childhood friendships, if you see that someone's values are changing or that your values have changed and theirs aren't growing up or they're staying the same, if you see that someone is valuing different parts of their life, i.e. relationships or chasing relationships, chasing guys, more than you, and you feel like you're kind of that second option when they are single or when nothing's working out, if your conversations cannot continuously pass the Bechdel test, that is the biggest indicator there that your values are changing. If that's what you want out of that friendship, like, perfect, good for you. But I'm saying especially when it comes to closer friendships, if you feel you are a second option and you're becoming more not serious, but just more different interests rather than just relationships, and you can't reflect that anymore, it's okay to say goodbye. It might become a fight if the other person does not know why or does not recognize their own behavior, but, you know, you'd rather have it out than months or years of a slowly drawn out death of a friendship.
I agree. Like, if you can't talk to someone without having to revert to a previous version of yourself that you don't want to be anymore, or talking about the same topics over and over again, or just the past in general. And that's probably a sign that we're kind of just holding on to something for the sake of holding on to it rather than because there's substance and potential for growth here.
Right. You'd rather have your golden day memories to look back on of such a friendship rather than drawing it out and only being able to think about toxic fights or times where you felt hurt or vice versa.
Exactly. So speaking of friends, I need to know the strangest circumstance or just most interesting way that you've met a friend.
You put me on the spot with this. I mean, okay, I'll tell you how I met my roommate, I guess. I don't think it's too strange. I just think that we kept getting thrown together. In our organization, I was her bid day buddy, which is just a total random assignment. And we had a really great yapping vibe, but I didn't expect, what would happen. After that, she joined the organization. We would occasionally talk, and then she got put as my daughter, which sounds really odd if you're not in college. It was just like we didn't realize that everyone else in the organization also saw this budding friendship and kind of conspired to put it together. And now we're roommates, which is crazy. It's just kind of nice to recognize when other people find someone who matches your vibe and they put enough work in to make sure that the vibe connects. I think that's really sweet. So it's not very a weird circumstance, but it's funny how it was very purposeful by other people deciding for me to be her bid day buddy and then me to be her mom. It's just so random.
Very wholesome.
Yeah, I don't have a good fun story because I'm not super extroverted.
I'm not either.
Well, what's your story?
One that comes to mind that I think is kind of funny. It's my first day on campus, freshman year. It's the sights and sounds tradition where you're going to the stadium and you're learning all of the, what do you call it, mantras almost?
Yeah, the chants.
Yeah, chants, cheers, I, all of that. I'm on my way there. Our RA is the line leader with 60 students behind you, and you're all filing down to the stadium into the unknown. And I get a tap on my shoulder. And I turn around, and it is this man.
Oh, no, not a man.
He's like, hey, I just want to tell you, I really mess with the beads in your braids.
Oh, you did have beads in your braids.
Right? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. And he's like, do you go out? Do you party? I'm like, no, I haven't yet. He's like, oh, well, do you want to go out to this party tonight? And I'm like, of course I do.
Yeah.
Freshman year.
You have to say yes.
And this is at that time, college is partying. So I need to do this. Yes, I would. Thank you very much. We end up becoming very good friends for the time being. We're still cool, but that kind of fizzled out over time. But that was still college, honestly.
Yeah.
First day. Now I'm going to a party with this random guy, and now we're besties.
That's the thing. I feel in the beginning, the invites are random, but they're all low-key trustworthy. You can, if there is a party happening that first week, it's not a random, sus party. It's an actual party.
Yeah, it's legit. And I feel never would I say that you should go to a party that a random man is inviting you to in any other circumstance.
No.
Maybe not even in this one. I was definitely taking a chance with my life. However...
Was it a frat party?
Yes.
Well, see, and that's another thing. If it's a frat, you know the location because it's a frat. It wasn't a random address.
Exactly. And I met so many friends from this friend. And I remember at one point there was no joke, 20 people in his 10 by 6 dorm room.
No.
Everywhere on top of each other. So that's the first week of freshman year for you.
That is so freshman year.
Speaking of strange circumstances and situations.
And now we'll go to an ad break.
Do not date in college.
Period.
That's the ad. But in all seriousness, especially in your earlier years of college, freshman, sophomore year, I'm not even trying to be that buzzkill, but honestly, just don't date because no one's being serious. And honestly, deep down, you're probably not even being as serious as you think you are either because at the end of the day, life in college is so fleeting. Everything changes from day to day, and it's just kind of hard to lock in and lock down when you literally just got on campus. And half of the time you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what's going on. It's just not a good situation for anyone, honestly.
Almost every single relationship that I know that started freshman or sophomore year has ended.
Yeah, doesn't exist.
Yeah. Anyways, I feel like, though, that switch from sophomore year to junior year is insane. If you have seen Sex and the City, Brooklyn and I's favorite show,
Love.
there's this whole scene about like the taxi cab theory where men are taxi cabs, and if you've ever seen a New York taxi, they have a light on top that shows when the taxi is on, and the first person to get in the taxi gets it. So if a guy decides he wants a girlfriend, the first girl that he talks to will become the girlfriend. For women, I feel like, obviously this is so general, but I feel like we're kind of willing to start a relationship even if it's not the right time, as long as it's the right person, which I feel like is where some discourse happens, because I know a lot of people where they were in a 10-month situationship because they're just waiting for the day that he changes his mind about not wanting to be in a relationship. And that whole theory, I feel like, is the reason that situationships exist in college, because someone usually doesn't want to be in a relationship, but they don't want to not have anything going on. And that's where the situationship was born.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I have a little bit too much expertise on situationships. A lot.
We all need to know what not to do
by doing it and not doing it again, hopefully.
Yeah. We also have to discuss how it matters where you met the person and the initial things you take in. We've been talking about partying. Any man at a party is not your husband. He's not a boyfriend. He's actually just an animal. Every single relationship I know where they met at a party, down the drain. And usually doesn't even become a relationship. It becomes a situationship. You just need to remember that people are so different when they go out. People are so different when they aren't sober. You have to meet your husband. Well, I guess if you don't want a husband, you have to meet, the future boyfriend or whatever in a situationship where it's in a situationship in a situation where they are in their natural environment, so you can see how they interact with people. If they are nice, if they thank someone for passing them a piece of paper, etc. What are some red flags that you like to identify, Brooklyn?
There's so many to choose from. Honestly, first and foremost, if he's always partying.
Yeah.
I knew someone who openly told me that they spent over $300 at the bars per week.
And now I think he dropped out of college. So
let that be a tale.
If he is going to Monday Night Lion, Tuesday Night Time Warp,
Wednesday night.
What? I don't know. I think Wednesday's the rest day.
Is
Thursday night Cams? ? Friday Night Lion. Thursday Night Lion.
I thought Wednesday was like Decade Day.
Wait, no, that's Tuesday Time Warp. I don't know. Thursday night something, Friday night something else, and of course a Saturday game day and booze all day. That man is not serious.
If he's there Sunday, that's when you really know there's an issue.
If he is at a morning mimosa situation on a Sunday, you need to hand him an AA paper and walk out of his life.
Because why are you taking shots on Sunday at 11 a.m.? What is happening?
And why is your homework not done?
And why are you on academic probation? Anyways.
My red flag is being an engineering major.
100%. There's subcategories to this, especially mechanical engineering. Run. Please, save yourself.
Honestly, if there's anything before the word engineering...
There always is.
That's exactly. So that is the red flag. I would also say, as a business major, being a business major is a red flag, especially finance, because you're not serious
at all about anything.
We don't even have Friday classes, so that's just setting us up for failure.
I would also say any type of frat. Sorry, Neela.
Honestly, I would agree.
Because now I just can't trust you.
Especially if you live in a house of any sort with more than 4 men, you are a red flag. Because someone in there is doing worse behavior than you and then promoting it.
Yeah, and you're being influenced.
Anyways.
Well, tell your tale. Like you said, that at any sort of party scene, they're an animal in an enclosure.
Yeah, and that is just a general observation. I mean, I feel like they always say something out of pocket.
Oh, yeah.
I think for both of us, it's a race issue, usually.
A racial slur.
Right. For Brooklyn, a slur. For me, a guessing game.
Oh, wow.
It's always wrong, of course. And you're just not serious at that point. Because now I'm turning into it a bit. Do you remember when we told those people? Wait, was this me and you?
Tell me, I don't know.
Wait, we were at an establishment. This dude, came up to us 3 separate times and asked what our names were, and we lied. Was that you?
Honestly, it seems like something we would do.
Right. And then we, like, told them, like, that we were from, like, California. Wait, maybe this wasn't you.
Yeah, that's not ringing a bell.
Okay, anyways.
But I would love to do this. If
No,
you
yeah,
would
I would.
want to do this
I would
again.
do this. I love lying. Yeah. Lying when you're out is just, like, until they ask for your number. It's such an adrenaline rush.
Suddenly, I don't have a phone.
Or you have to make it worth your while, because if someone is not looking like an interest, you need to get something out of it. Whether that be an introduction to a friend, a beverage, etc.
Talking about a beverage.
Money, a Venmo
Money?
for their
Yeah, that's
for
so
your
real, though.
time. I feel like that goes into my next point, which is money and paying for things. If you go on a date with someone,
Here she goes, y'all.
and he does not pay, and if you're like me and you very much slow down the process of taking out your wallet just to see what happens, and there are no sudden movements, you need to get your food and go, because that is an unserious man. That is not a provider, and we don't do 50-50 in this household. At least for the first date. Like, I understand if you're, like, down on money, but, like, especially if the guy's the one to suggest the date, you can't not pay. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I mean, personally, I feel like we don't do 50-50 ever.
Right.
But
I'm trying to make an exception to be nice, but, like,
who told him that that was acceptable behavior to display to a woman that you asked out? Honestly, I would not have pulled out my wallet. We would have just had to stand there and look at each other.
And the worst part is, it was like a girl cashier.
How could he do that to you?
I know.
Like, I would feel like he despised me after that.
I feel like he just hates women at that point.
Like, where are the cameras?
I looked for the cameras.
Where's John Quinones?
Anyways.
Wait, I want to go back to that point that you said earlier about how, like, when someone's out, they are not actually being themselves, because unfortunately, I've been bamboozled by this point. There was...
Is it catfishing if it's in person?
I didn't think it was possible.
Fishing.
Yeah, it's fishing. Unfortunately, there was a gentleman who I was conversing with, and on this night, at this time, in this environment, under this vibe, honest to God, he was 6'2".
No, and I swear to it. I swear to it.
This is no joke, no exaggeration. This man was 6'2", maybe even plus.
And I saw him standing next to people who I verify know that they are like 5'8", and this man was towering over them.
We continued to converse outside of this environment via text, and he invites me out. He picks me up, and when he gets off the car, he is no longer 6'2", and is now a fright, because...
No, not a fright! A fright!
Why was this man 5'7"?
Do you think he had lifts on?
I'm not sure if he had on stilts that night, if there was a circus nearby.
Platform Jordans, but they were like 7 inches.
Converse honestly needs to be sued, because I'm pretty sure he had on Converse, and those platforms are no joke.
No, they aren't.
Like, there's no reason why you should have on shoes that, like, increase your height by 8 inches. However.
Like, to this day, this baffles me, because I see him everywhere, and he's verifiably 5'8".
Yeah.
5'7" on a regular day. 5'8" if the lighting is okay.
I have nothing against height, but it's a cold case. It's an unsolved mystery. Like, I truly need a docuseries on this, because still to this day, I don't know what went wrong. There are photos with this man in it.
And he's tall.
So I'm not sure. Like, did he steal the digital and, like, alter the photos?
That's crazy.
Something went wrong. And then later, I was unfortunately told someone saw him on their dating app feed, and he referred to himself as, and I quote, a Nigerian demon. So I'm pretty sure demons shapeshift, so that honestly checks.
Wait, so he wasn't lying. Getting back to lying. I was trying to think of a good transition there. Back to the busy majors. The word busy. What do we think about the word busy?
As soon as someone throws out that word, they are lying to you and they are hiding something.
And there is a roster, and you're not number 1. And you're actually not number 2, 3, or 4.
You are on the bench, and unfortunately, the starters are not going anywhere anytime soon.
Especially if it's a busy weekend.
Oh, because what are you doing?
I know on a Sunday night at 5 p.m., nothing is going on. You just don't want to text me.
It really comes down to that. Honestly, hear me out, because I've been in this situation, I fear.
I feel like we all have.
We all have, and it's a humbling moment. But if a man is not texting you, and I will be the controversial person to say within 2 hours, unless they are telling you that they were busy. Because, like, there's no reason why I would disappear off of the face of the earth, and we've been having consistent communication, and, like, not give you a heads up for my disappearance if I like you. And I feel like that's what it comes down to. If you like someone genuinely, you are always going to want to be considerate of their feelings and how things could look to them, how things could make them feel. So, like, you wouldn't disappear for 6 hours and, like, not account for the fact that your crush, the girl of your dreams, might be like, where is he? You know?
96 hours? I just did that math.
Once again, I like my men obsessed.
No, and I do too.
So, what do you mean you can go 2 hours without talking to me?
Nonchalant shouldn't exist.
You just hate me at that point.
No, right. Like, why are we even talking?
Exactly.
With that, speaking of men that hate, situationships were invented by men that hate. I think there's a difference between a situationship and a talking stage. And I feel like if you do not know where you stand, in 1 month, honestly, first couple of dates.
Yeah, once again, I am certifiably insane, crazy.
Right.
I need you to tell me if we're getting married day 1.
Right.
Personally.
You should actually greet me on one knee.
Yes. Like, a question on our first date is, what is your ring size? Like, I need you to ask me that.
Because you should already know which metal.
Yeah, and what cut.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you're in a situationship, you're not actually. He just hates you. And you like him.
I'm laughing, but, like, we're being so serious. Like, he does hate you. This honestly is not a joke.
Because the question you need to ask yourself is, would your husband do this? Would the love of your life do this? And the answer is no. The love of your life is not at college, I fear. I think there are some exceptions. And I think in those exceptions, those are people that started to be official after like 3 weeks.
Exactly. I feel like when you know, you know. And also, a situationship is a college man's favorite thing in the world because, like, he doesn't have to court you. He doesn't even have to talk to you consistently. Like, all he has to do is just show up when he wants to. And now, all of a sudden, he has a beautiful woman by his side tolerating his nonsense. Don't be the beautiful woman tolerating anything but the best.
Right. Especially if it's, like, a day of plan, what you doing, etc.
None of that. It has to go. It has to stop.
It needs to be an itinerary. It needs to be, let's do 6, I'll pick you up. It's a surprise where we're going.
A man that actually likes you, you will know. You will feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that someone could possibly like me this much. Like, trying to make life easier for you, trying to make you happy, trying to make you feel seen, supported, uplifted. If none of that is happening, he doesn't actually like you, and it's up to you to be the one to decide to leave, because a man is never going to leave a situation that he's benefiting from. So if you are okay with the situationship happening, it's never going to end until you end it.
If you're using ChatGPT to write your text to get yourself out of this situation, that's your sign. If you're telling your dad just to get a male opinion, leave.
Honestly, that's when I knew. When I started telling my dad about my situationship in high school, I should have known right then and there. Like, my dad, a man I've never talked to about anything like that.
Right.
I should have known, like, I was down so horrendous.
You have to think about if you were to tell your mom a day-by-day run back of every interaction you had with said man, and she approved after, that is the only approval you need. If there is any frown on her face, that's all you need to know. And with that, I would like to transition to the more optimistic side of this.
Yes.
Because I feel like we've been hating for an hour. As we approach the hour mark. So, crushes, flirting, I like to call them flirtationships. Have you ever been approached?
So I have been approached. For some reason, my laundry room in my building is where everyone feels like they need to approach me. And I don't know if it's the fumes in there, if it's the fluorescent light.
I feel like it's the domesticity of it all.
Yeah, like, they see me being a woman doing laundry. She's a wife. A little bit of story time. I'm down there one day, And there is this athlete. And you know the athletes on campus because one, just the vibe, the arrogance that like comes out of their pores.
They only wear sweatpants that are branded with the university. They only wear bags branded with the university. They only wear slides. No shoes shall ever touch their feet.
Yes.
And they sort of do this shuffle walk where they don't pick their feet up from the ground.
They just levitate almost.
Right. Because they had a 3-hour practice yesterday, guys.
You know it's an athlete because they also are like over 6 foot, but then seemingly walk 1 mile per hour everywhere. I just don't understand. But anyways, I'm literally talking to my father, AirPods in, minding my business, and I keep hearing in the background, excuse me, 3 times. I finally take out my AirPods and I'm like, can I help you? And he's like, I just think that you are so beautiful and like I'm just trying to get on that with you. These are his words, not mine.
Did your dad hear that?
No, because I hung up the phone. I already knew what was about to happen. It was just a lot. Just, no. Second time, an athlete is down there once again, and it's the same whole excuse me thing, which, let's go back. He had a Target cart in the laundry room for some reason.
Like the full
Like
rolling
the full,
cart?
like this came out of your local Target.
Wait, but they have the little sensor things. So imagine them like stealing the cart and like putting it in a car and like driving to your location.
Yes, there was a Target cart full of his laundry. Like, now your laundry is no longer
Wow.
clean, sir, but
Yeah.
okay. He's doing the whole same excuse me bit. I don't even turn around. Like, this man is, like, talking to the back of my head. Because I'm like, this was a day I was already so irritated. I'm like, I just cannot do this right now. We end up getting on the elevator at the same time, and I just see him out of the corner of my eye, just staring at me with a smirk. Finally, he's like, are you a junior? Which, how do you know that? Excuse me? I say, yeah. And he just nods and continues smiling. And in that moment, I'm able to get off safely at my floor. And I locked the door behind me.
Yeah, can't relate. And now Brooklyn like threatens to send me to the laundry room.
Yes, I'm like, if you need a man, I will
they're
take
down
you
there.
to my laundry room because that is where they are at.
And that's the thing. You shouldn't meet your heroes.
I
No.
agree.
Because you know that guy in your class and you think he is so fine and like he smiled at you. Another instance would be you're in a flirtationship. See, these flirtationships I feel like are the best part of college. Like when you and someone are flirting with each other and you both know it's not going to go anywhere. But you're just, you're just doing it for fun. The problem is when you try to turn one of these into something more. Because you're ruining the fantasy of it. You're ruining the idea in your head. Me, for instance, had a flirtationship. And once it progressed to an environment where it could progress, I suddenly got the ick so hard that I left at like 1 a.m. And have not come back. Despite multiple efforts from the other person's side. And I just think now that the image in my head is ruined, the little scenarios you play for yourself before bedtime, now I can't do any of that. So it's gone. Don't ruin that for yourself.
Have you ever been icked out by someone's living environment?
Yes, actually. This person only had one pillow, so I feel like that was like a big ick.
It's like one pillow that could fit underneath the door.
Yeah, it's like the thinnest pillow.
Like a slither of
exist.
fabric.
But I
Just a
feel-
top
I-
sheet, a pillow, and vibes.
Like, what are your opinions on fridges?
Girl, don't even start. This man who was supposed to be 6'2", that ended up being 5'7", he made me I will say, a delicious meal that I'm glad I ate before I saw this item.
You said it was spiced well, right? Like, that was
Yeah, it
good.
was spiced well. It was a ethnic dish that I had never tried before. But then, you know that feeling after you eat something really good and then you find out something?
Hello? Help.
Same situation. I went to put my bowl in the sink after the meal.
She's a good guess.
Yeah, the meal that I literally just like almost licked the bowl. And here is this sponge.
Oh, gosh.
Seemingly growing fungus.
No.
And it's the only sponge there. And I'm like, there's just no way. Also, go in his refrigerator to get some water to wash down all of the potential parasites I just ingested.
Mm-hmm.
And in his fridge is a rotting bell pepper. Also, same night,
No.
We're trying to watch a movie, a show even, and he is bombarded by this notification on the screen saying, hey, you actually are logged out of your Hulu, and because there's someone else in it. He leaves the room, and through the thinnest wall, I hear a conversation between him and his older sister, and he's fighting with her to get off of the Hulu so he can use her account to watch this movie. And he's like, bro, like, you don't even understand, bro. Like, I'm not even playing right now. Please, like, literally begging this woman. And it gave me the ick so bad that at this point, I didn't even lie. My stomach did hurt after all of these events, and I told him that I needed to leave immediately. He took me back home, and I never replied to any of his messages.
And that goes back to the whole paying. He should have had it set up. He should have checked the Hulu before.
Right?
Right. I mean, I feel like we have to end with that. What is the real raw truth? What did you wish you knew before starting college after this hour-long conversation?
I wish I knew that college is not like the movies or the shows or anything that's overly glorified. College is school at the forefront. Let's not forget that part. You will be stressed. You will have so much stuff to do, and you will have so many commitments. But at the same time, college is very fun, and you will have moments where life does feel like a movie, but the entire experience is not that, I fear. But it is what you make out of it, and I think you have to understand, and something that took me a long time to, like, accept is seeing all these people with, like, all of these friends and friend groups and feeling like, oh, I only have 3 friends, and, like, there's people with 15 friends, and, like, going on trips and having these themed parties at people's apartments, and I'm not a part of that. I don't have that. But through the grapevine, you hear certain things, or you just see that, like, not everything is as it seems. And I'm sure there are huge friend groups and people with a lot of friends, and that it is all genuine, and it isn't just for the photos and your Instagram. But a lot of the times it is, and you just have to realize that not everything is real. It needs to be taken seriously, and you are not behind. As long as you have friends that you genuinely appreciate and get along with and have good times with, you are winning. It doesn't matter how many you have or how many events you're invited to. As long as you are feeling good in what you do have and it elevates your life, then you're rich.
If you leave college knowing who a couple of your bridesmaids are going to be, that's all that matters.
Exactly. Well,
time to go home.
Right? Why is it suddenly 90 degrees in here?
No, yeah.
It's time to skedaddle. I want to thank you for agreeing to come on the pod, especially such late notice. I literally sent her a message like, you will be on the podcast in 2 days and you have to be there. Sorry. And you made it work.
Wait, no, but like, your podcast is such a sacred space, so I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for coming and having this conversation with me. I had so much fun. It was so girlhood, so like,
I knew we would yap for over an hour.
I had a feeling too. I'm glad we didn't get kicked out because that would have been so awkward.
That would have been terrible. If you like this, tell Brooklyn to keep me back as a recurring guest.
Yes, every week.
Anyways, that's what you need to know about college.
Plug yourself. What do you do? Where are you at? Where can we find you?
Oh, that's so podcast. If you like books and such, I have a podcast called The Midnight Bookworm, the like Megan Thee Stallion. Also an Instagram called The Midnight Bookworm. If you're into more Pinterest, I'm a very seasonal thinker. I love a good fall, winter, spring, summer. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I have a blog on Substack called Ocean's Musings, and I also have an Instagram for it under the same name. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
And if you are interested in her, she will be in my laundry room.
Yeah. Send your bachelors.
Thank you for listening to Sit Back and Chat once again and being here for this historic episode with our first ever guest. Make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at sitbackandchat.podcast and be sure to be back for another episode whenever I decide to post, because we just never know, but that keeps it fun, the mystery.
Right.
You know, you should know from the last episode if you're a true fan.
Right.
Anyways, thank you so much. Have a great day. Peace, love, tranquility, and I will see you in the next one.